this is Bill Dannenhauer here at Sideline Power with Ballin with Bill. It's great to have everybody here today, and great to see everyone. Wanted to remind everybody this is Sideline Power Week, and we have 2 days left between 4 and 5. Please tune in. Order something. If you order something, you automatically go in the pile of winning something. If not, we can do spin the wheel with you. So 4 to 5 Thursday and Friday here today and tomorrow. So look forward to seeing you all, and it's great to have you here, part of the great Sideline Power Week. I have a special guest that I've known for a long time. I knew him when he first started coaching at Omaha, Brian, as assistant coach, and tried to hire him, but I didn't have enough funds at Dana to hire him. But he's a fine young man and ended up being a great coach and doing a great job at Papillion. And I want to introduce Tim Williams.
Thanks, Bill.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And it's great to have you here. You've kind of tell us about your story, how you got started in coaching. I know you also coach soccer, and kind of how you evolved. I remember when you were an assistant and how you moved up to becoming a head coach.
Well, when I got out of high school, I went into college, and I struggled. I struggled in college. The party scene was probably too much, but it was something that, I should probably be a doctor by now for as much time as I spent trying to get through college, But it took some time. I graduated from Gross High School, Daniel J. Gross Catholic. Great school. Learned so much. Made a lot of friends. It was just a great place. And eventually I graduated college through Peru State College. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a cyber bobcat, if you will, than a regular bobcat.
What's a cyber bobcat?
That's something I went online. I finished it up online a little bit. Just took some classes. I still had to take some classes there, but I always laugh at I got some assistant coaches that all graduated from there. Once a bobcat, always a bobcat. Right. I'm like, well, I'm a cyber bobcat. Does that count? It is what it is. But I got the degree but that's not where I started. It was I started at Omaha Bryan when I finally moved back. I went to Kearney my first year of college.
Okay. I didn't know about that.
And I enjoyed that. And I came home. And I wanted to get into coaching, and that was something I did. And my first year of coaching, I was coaching Little League. I coached Little League football, and it was fun. It's an interesting time.
Yeah.
It's hit or miss, but that's okay. I cut my teeth a little bit in coaching with that, and that was fun. That next year, I wanted to coach high school ball. And I went up to Brian, and Tim Bond,
Tim was still the head coach.
Tim Bond was the head coach then, and it was actually a basketball game at Brian. Now, it's funny because I had no allegiance to Brian,
right,
other than the fact that my dad graduated in '72.
Okay.
So
and you went right across the street, really. When you went to Gross.
My mother, she graduated from Gross in '72, and anyway, so it was just one of those things. So I went up to Brian. And there was a basketball game. It was in the winter, and Tim Bond was the voice of the Bears. I always give him a hard time. Voice of the Bears. And I went up to him at halftime, and I just said, "Hey, you don't know me, and I'd like to coach for you in the future." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what." He goes, "I usually don't allow students to coach for me," and I didn't understand that. What does that mean? And I'm thinking, student, like college student? He thought I was in high school. He thought I was a student at Bryan asking to coach, and I started laughing. Anyway, I told him where I was and going to school at UNO at the time, because I went back and went to UNO for a couple of years. And he said, yeah, show up in July at our camp, and I'll put you to work. It'll be a volunteer basis, and we'll go from there. I think he was probably expecting me not to ever show up, because there was no more correspondence from that point on.
Oh, really?
So I heard the date, and I marked it down, and I showed up, and he kind of looked at me like, what the heck? And he said, you know what? All right, you're going to coach right here, and this is what you're going to do. My job, I was a gopher.
Right.
Go for this, go for that, go for that. And you know what? I didn't want to coach after that. And it was after my first year, I thought, man, this is not my thing. This ain't coaching football. It was coaching football, and I think Tim Bond taught me a great, valuable lesson in hard work.
Yeah.
You know, and you gotta work and earn what you get. Because the second year he put me in charge of something.
Good.
And it wasn't much, but it was the offensive line for our sophomore team. You know, it wasn't much. Eventually, after about 3 years, you know, it was after about 3 years he put me in charge of the freshman team. And as you know, that might be one of the most important jobs.
Yeah, because you're getting everybody to come up, and
that's right.
Freshman coach is your most important
right,
coach.
Because if he ain't good, then nobody's going to come out for football, and they're going to.
It's going to hurt your numbers going forward.
That was my first taste of being a head coach, and I loved it. And I kept going. Now Tim retired from teaching, not coaching, teaching after my 5th year. Now understand, I volunteered almost all 5 of those.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And I was a poor man. Okay.
That would be poor.
And a dumb poor man. I wasn't very bright. Okay. As you notice, it took me 10 years to graduate college. Anyway, I wasn't very bright, and we were actually the guy that becomes the new head coach for Brian, Rick Thurston, was building a shed at his old house in his backyard, and I'm going into my, I want to say 4th or 5th year at Brian. Tim Bond was still head coach, and I'm holding up a piece of siding on the side of this shed, and Tim says to me, "Do you want to get paid now?" And I looked at him and said, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "Okay." That was it. And that's how I got paid to coach. I don't even.
That sounds so like Tim. If you know Tim,
yeah,
that's like Tim.
And to be honest, I didn't know if he was talking about
that job you're doing. That
yeah. So anyway, that's how. So I started there, and I painted more sheds and built more sheds and cleaned more paintbrushes and got coffee and you know, cleaned up locker rooms and picked up things, and that's what I did. And what I learned through that was the game of football.
Yeah.
Because I also got to hear what they were saying.
Right.
And I learned a lot from that. So.
Now from there you went with Ricky.
Yeah. So Ricky.
Ricky, when I met you, you were the offensive coordinator.
Yes. Yeah. So Ricky became head coach, and I stayed 1 more year as JV coach at the time. Yeah. And then after that, Ricky asked me to come up and coach with the varsity.
Right.
And I did. And again, I learned a lot through Ricky. And you know, you want to talk about a great football staff under Tim Bond. You had Tim Bond and Jerry Ball and Dan Carruthers and Ricky
forget
Thurston.
Dan was there. Yeah.
You know, I mean, you had a
great.
Had a staff. Tim Cannon, who's the basketball coach at Millard North, was the head freshman or the freshman coach, and another guy by the name of Gary Stutt played at University of Missouri back in the day before face masks and stuff like that. So you know,
that's what my father.
this was a good staff.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot of football. Anyway, so I under Ricky, and about my 5th year, so now my 10th year at Bryan, I called over and wanted to move on. Ricky was done at Bryan and was going over to Omaha North, and this was a good time for me to go, and so I called Tim Bond, who as soon as he retired, he went over to Miller South.
Yep.
And I sat down with Andy Means, and I said that I'd like to coach, and Andy said, "Well, I don't have any money for you," and I don't care. You know, coaching's not about the money; it's about the game, and it's about the kids.
Yep.
And that's the most important part. And so I said, okay. And so he hired me on to coach tight ends.
That's right. Remember that when you started with them.
And secondary. And it's funny because the tight end went away that year after week 2. So then I kind of
got hurt, didn't you?
Twiddled my thumbs. And,
got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. Yeah. Ended up, but Andy kind of gave me the reins to the secondary that year. And what a year! I mean, I didn't have to do much. I mean, we won the state title in '09, and we had some players. You know, we had some players, but I learned a different style of football.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. And again, another great staff.
Yeah.
I mean, some great people.
Because then that guy went to Elkhorn. That got a chance to move up to offensive coordinator then.
Yeah.
I know you're OC there.
Yeah, he was the OC, and then he got the head job over at Elkhorn South.
Right.
And he knows a lot. Man, that guy. I mean, Trevor Long knows football.
Yeah, his brother was a heck of a player.
Oh,
at his alma mater, Nebraska.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nebraska. Yeah, Troy. Both of it was fun because those Long brothers, they're so good.
Yeah, they're good athletes.
And they feed off each other. Yeah. And it was fun because we had sibling rivalry. That was really fun. So that was a lot. Those 5 years at Millard South taught me a lot. And I got an opportunity. There was the job down in Waverly.
So tell about, and then you're OC. Now you get your first chance to be head coach. I remember when you got the job.
Yeah. So I went over to applied for the job at Waverly, and I still think this is a great story too because so I applied for the job. Don't have any head coaching experience, and I go through the interview. I think they like me. And I go away, but I don't think I interviewed very well, at least in my mind. And I tell, I remember getting my truck and on my way back from Waverly, I'm heading home, and I remember calling my dad. I'm like, hey, I think I bombed that one. I don't think I got a chance. and he, we whatever. I find I had a great job at Millard South, teaching and coaching. By the way, I'm teaching now.
Yeah, you were
at that
teaching
point, Millard South.
Yeah.
And I get a phone call, or actually, Coach Means gets a phone call from the principal. And he said, we really liked him, but we don't know much about his, he doesn't have any head coaching experience. And Andy said to him, well, why don't you give him a chance and then call me after the opening kickoff of the very first game, because by then he has some experience. And I thought,
good line by Andy.
Yeah. And they took a chance.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of work to do. There. So.
Well, tell us what did you do to change it? I mean, because they were down those last couple of years, and you came in, and what did you do to change it, Tim?
Well, first off, coming out, I followed Mike Johnson, and I saw Coach Manstead on this show talk about in fact he called him the great Mike Johnson, and I would agree with that. I think Mike Johnson's a great man, and a great coach. And I came in, he's done, and he taught the Wishbone for years.
Oh yeah, they were big Wishbone.
Big Wishbone for years and years. I had no idea, and you know what? I like the Wishbone. I don't know how to coach it.
No, I mean it's a different style completely.
So I said, well, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to install this pass happy offense, and I'm going to sling it all over the place. Where I found out you really can't do that in Class B very well.
No. It's hard, especially that's good Class B.
Yeah, it's really good Class B. That's a good conference.
Yeah.
And what it came down to was lack of strength that we had in the school.
Yeah.
And size and numbers. In fact, my first year coaching from sophomore to senior, I only had 46 kids out.
Really?
46. And
I did not know that.
Our freshman team that year won 2 games, maybe one. I know it's 2 games. Our varsity team, we went 0-5. I didn't know if we were going to win. We didn't score our first touchdown until week 4. And that's when things started to go great. Chuck McGinnis was the head coach at Crete. That was the game that I felt was the turning point for us.
Good, we were trying to think his name.
Yeah.
Chuck McGinnis.
And we played a great game against them. And they were ranked 6th in the state. We're 0-4. They're 0-3 at the time. And we go out there and we moved the ball and we scored our first touchdown. And I swear it was like the state championship on our sideline, And we were just excited. And we went on and the game went over, and I just remember the greatest compliment ever from Coach McGinnis was he said, you got us in every aspect but the scoreboard. And he was not happy. He won, but he was not happy.
Right.
He didn't think his boys played well that night.
Yeah.
And I just said that's from a guy that's a Hall of Famer in my mind, that's the greatest compliment.
He's one of the best.
Yeah.
Coaches. He's
so
a great coach.
The next week we had Norris, and that's the school rivalry at Waverly, and all of a sudden we're scoring points, and they're scoring points, and we have the game, and it's ours. We're driving. We have a kicker that can get the distance. He goes to kick a 30-some yard field goal to win the game. It's 20-20. He gets blocked.
I remember this one.
Norris returns it back. They try to throw a couple passes to get into a little bit closer field goal range.
Yeah.
And they try a 49-yard field goal into the wind. And he nails it. With no time left, game over, we lost to Norris. I'm thinking, we're never going to win. So the following week we had Bennington at our place. They were up, I think 20-6 at the end of the third quarter, and we scored 20 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to get that first win.
Well, that's right. That's awesome.
So that was a lot of fun, and then we started district play, and we won our district. We're district champs going in, playing the old 16 seed against 1, and Scott came calling. So there was that. But again, it comes down to, from that point on, it was strength. And they believed, but the strength was not there. We had to get stronger, and that was a difficult task. It was a difficult task, but we started to get kids into the weight room. One of the things that I probably would say that I got started right away was getting the middle school weightlifting program going, and I went up to the middle school and I sat down with the 8th graders and said, hey, I want you guys to come up and lift weights and in the off season, and we'll start in January. And the kids, I thought, well, what, 14 kids will show up? I didn't know. 6:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden I had 60 some kids. Now not all of them were football players, but 60 boys. They came out of that middle school to lift weights at 6:30 in the morning. What ended up being a continual number. Now I'd say it probably dwindled down to 50, but of those 50, I convinced some kids to come out for football.
They wouldn't have not come out, right?
So the following year, when they were freshmen, those kids had a great freshman year. In fact, the only loss they had was to, I believe, against Elkhorn South, and they had that game won. It was a snap between the quarterback's legs all the way down, and the old volley where you're fumbling after a ball and it goes 30 yards in the end zone. So that was their only loss, and they had that game.
Yeah.
And then the following year, those kids were now sophomores, and I called about 12 or 13 of them up. Well, they're already with us, and we struggled a little bit. We went 2-7, but I played all of them. They played a ton of minutes, and again the middle school program's going, and then next thing you know, we're in the playoffs again after that 2-7 season, and now we're in the quarterfinals and playing somebody other than Scott. We're playing McCook. It's
still
much
a good
different,
team.
right?
Still a good ball club.
Go out to McCook, play that tough game. Coach Gross has a great coaching staff, great kids, great history, and great culture. And then you get done with that game, and then my 5th year there, we arguably had one of the best teams that I have ever coached, next to that 09 state championship team. And got to the semifinals, get out to McCook, beat McCook at McCook, which is no easy task.
No.
And then play in the state semis against who else?
Scott.
And what a game.
Yeah.
What a game.
Yeah.
And they got us.
Yeah.
And then a job came available at Papillion-La Vista, and I applied for the job, as did a lot of other people.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I was. I'm pretty sure I wasn't the first pick, but as luck has it, I got the call, and it was a great move. I knew that if I would have stayed in Waverly, we would have had some success.
Yeah, you debated. I remember sitting down with you, talking to you one time.
Coach Manstead was a great hire.
Yeah.
Man, was he a great hire.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
Great coach, good man.
Good human being. Yes, I agree.
And I knew him from the Crete days when he was there, and I just knew they were in great hands.
Yeah.
And their whole staff over there at Waverly, by the way, great guys.
Yeah.
And so I decided I'm going to take this leap, and I'm going to go back to the Metro. Coach Manstead took him to the semis again against the old Skyhawks.
Get him last year.
And a tough one again, but I think he's going to get him this year.
I hope so. He's been working hard at it.
First year at Papillion was tough. Culture shock.
Tell us now that you've done 2 programs, what type of culture when you go into a program? You just took the Papillion job, you had success in turning Waverly. What culture did you take with you and start to implement at Papillion to make them like what your culture is, what your belief system is?
Weight room. I mean, there's no magic formula just to building a program, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think that the number one foundation, I'd say the foundation of a great program is in that weight room, and you have to get kids to believe in that foundation. They got to build that foundation. They got to understand how important it is, because you lose a lot when you're in the weight room. You lose. You fail at 225. You fail at 315.
Right.
You have to either run away or come back and continue to fight. And the moment that a kid gets a weight that they didn't think they could get, confidence comes. And all of a sudden, now you've got success. And now people are excited about it. They want to try new things. They want to take chances. And what I saw at Papillion is a lot of kids that didn't want to take chances when I first got there. And the weight room was not where it needed to be. Not where it needed to be. And the administration at Papillion actually said from day one, this weight room needs to change. And they hired me for that. And that's where, and they hired a strength coach, Josh Cage.
Josh came in there with you.
Josh is great. He played at South Dakota State.
Yeah, that's right.
He was a stud player for Papillion back in the day.
Oh yeah, he played for Gene, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he went. I mean, it might have been Govier. I don't remember if it was Govier or not, but
It was in the early parts, right?
Yeah.
Govier, if it was.
I can't remember what he told me, but it was right around that time. Yeah. I'm gonna go with Gene sir.
Well, and Govier kept a lot of Gene's stuff together.
Right.
When Govier took over.
Right. So he's the strength and conditioning coach. And we both kind of got. He was teaching PE, elementary PE in Papillion, and then he got hired over, and I got hired at the same time. So we kind of got into this thing, and they started a 0-hour class for us.
Did they really?
Players.
That's a big help.
Yeah, huge. And so we got these kids, these athletes in there, and they're working hard and doing the things that they're supposed to do, and we're changing it slowly, but it's getting better. We just said the other day actually where we're starting to see kids move weight. And it's weight that they've never been able to do before. So that's good.
That's good. So now, you've probably adapted because you and we used to talk football when I was at Dan about slinging the ball around. But I know you've developed, and Dan, that's the whole thing is you do. The reason why we did it at Dan is we just didn't have enough big guys. We just, when they get hurt, and like you said, we'd start the season with a tight end, and 2 games in, we didn't have a tight end. We'd take a tackle, make a tight end. Well, why is that? We just go 4 wides and put the best athletes on the field and keep your offensive line intact. So that's a lot of it developed. But you've developed and changed your philosophy. Tell me about your offensive philosophy and what you're trying to accomplish now at Papillion.
Well, the philosophy that I learned, I couldn't sling it around at weight really, and that's not the type of kids we had. We had a big, strong offensive line that grew into a big, strong offensive.
That's
line.
awesome.
And then we had some skill kids. We had some fast kids in the backfield. We had some decent wide receivers. One really good wide receiver. And we learned we got to balance this out. And I learned to take the spread concept and be able to still run the ball as a Class B program should, in my opinion. And so when I took the Papillion job, we didn't have that type of person, So we have a different clientele, and we go into this thing, and I'm trying to, we had a big offensive line, we had good running backs, good quarterback. We didn't know what we had for receivers, so we just tried to say, hey, Jay Ball was my offensive coordinator.
Yeah. Now he retired, right?
Retired, yeah. Excuse me. He felt really comfortable with that pro style offense, so he's like, let's do this. But it really wasn't where I wanted it. But it was a good learning curve for me. I found out who these kids were, and so we're gonna change some things up. Adapt it to the kids, and that's one thing I learned as head coach. You got to adapt to your kids.
So what kind of things are you going to do to adapt the offense to your personnel now that you've been there a year, coach?
We got to find our playmakers, and we got to get the ball to our playmakers. In the past, I would have said we're going to continue to do our thing, and if our playmakers get the ball, they get the ball. We got to get playmakers. We got to get people the ball. We got to get our dudes the ball.
Right.
Period. And so that's what we're going to do. And we got some dudes in the backfield.
So are you going to throw it?
We're going to throw it out. We're going to try to go 50. Try to go 50-50 a little bit. Yeah. We're trying. So.
Okay. So what? Okay. So now you look at what do you do? Because you've always been on the offensive side of the ball. Well, you did coach secondary. So what kind of a defensive philosophy do you have now?
Well, my defense coordinator, Jake Schmidt.
DC.
He's a Peru State grad. Played at Peru State. He's DC. And he was a 4-3 guy when I met him.
Mm-hmm.
Still, and if he could, he still would.
If you had the horses, you could.
Yeah, he still would be. and I was more of a 3-4 guy.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You were.
Because I grew up in the 5-2, right? So I know the 5. So that's where that was. So I was a 3-4 guy, and so after a year of the 3-4, it was really uncomfortable for Jake. I think, trying to do things with the 3-4, he didn't really know. I mean, he was good at it. I wanted more pressure, and he struggled finding ways to get pressure. And so we sat down and we communicated, and we talked about a new philosophy of what we want to do and how we can kind of mix the idea. And so we're gonna run something to be determined for your audience later.
That's cool.
And we're gonna say
no
this.
secrets. Who do you open with?
Paps out.
Oh shoot, the rivalry right off the bat. Game number one.
Yeah, right off the bat. Right off the bat.
Who's home?
We are this year.
Okay.
Right. And stay tuned to that.
And you're opening. What day are you guys opening? I'm trying to remember.
August 28th.
Okay.
That's
so you're
Friday
about 2 weeks away.
Yeah. I'm excited. That's a great rivalry. I did some Millard rivalries. Those were fun.
Oh yeah, that was 3 because you had Millard North, Millard South, and Millard West.
Oh yeah, those were fun.
Yeah.
But this Pap South, the Pap South Papillion rivalry was huge. I mean, I was probably taken back by it too much, and got caught up. And to be real honest, Papillion South had a great team last year, and
they did have a good team.
God, they did. Good coaching staff over there, and they took it to us in the second half. So. And couldn't bounce back.
Yeah. Where'd you finish last year? I was trying to remember because you were at the end. You had a shot at the playoffs.
Right. We were 4-5 at the end. Kind of like from what they told me, it was the same scenario as the year before. But Pius X, Lincoln Pius X, they came in second place in their district, and we had better power points than they did. But because they came in second place.
They bumped over you.
Bumped over us and knocked us out.
Gotcha.
We'd have been the 16th seed playing Millard West. I mean, it'd been like my first year at Waverly going in and playing Scott.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, what does the schedule look like this year? Now that with all this happening with OPS for you guys, did you have OPS? I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't have. We have to be one of the few teams that didn't have an OPS team on our schedule.
Okay.
So our schedule kind of stayed intact.
Yeah.
God, what a devastating thing.
Oh, what are the teams going to do that
don't? For the state of Nebraska, period.
Yeah, I know it is.
It's just bad. It is bad. And you know what? I probably get in trouble for saying it, but I don't care. I think that it was a terrible decision.
Yeah,
I really do.
You know how I feel about it.
Yeah, and I, that's my opinion, and I maybe I shouldn't be saying it, but I think it's a terrible decision.
So what are teams going to do that did have a
so right
OPS school on the schedule? What is the plan?
Right now, if you had an OPS school on your schedule, it's open. You can get teams that might be open that week also, but you have to play whoever they are, but it doesn't count towards your power points. So you might still So I think I saw an article in the World Herald the other day talk about why play the game.
Because, so if you're not going to get points, why would you play it?
Well, so that's the conundrum. So we talk about this. I have.
Does that team get a forfeit for it or not?
It's no contest.
No, it's no contest. Okay.
So my thought process is this. This is a COVID year, and I get it that we gotta you still want to win a state championship, but my opinion, and I'm probably in the minority here. This is about kids.
Right, I agree.
And this is about competing.
Right.
Whether the game counts towards power points or not.
Gotcha.
Play.
Right.
Get your kids on film. Get them noticed.
Because that's how they're going to be honest with you. I've been a senior, for a lot of kids, this is a big year because this is when they have a chance to go play college. Because a lot of kids mature. I was one that matured late between my junior and senior year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so was my brother Bob.
Right. I said, this is if the games don't mean anything, what a great opportunity for us to throw some younger kids in to get some experience maybe in a second quarter. Here's some lights. So next year, they've got some varsity experience.
Good point, Coach.
And so if we ever have that, God forbid somebody gets COVID, you know.
Right.
And now all of a sudden we got to go find somebody. I'm gonna pick somebody up. I want to. I want to. I hope somebody accepts us back, you know. And I want to play that game. And you know what? If we get beat, we get beat.
Right.
But I'm gonna get kids
time and experience.
So the next year, hopefully this thing's all over with.
And it's a positive thing for the seniors too.
And I've got kids that have experience. I got seniors with games, and we're good. So that's my take on it.
That's a good take. I mean, it's good to listen and hear that stuff. So I mean, okay. So anyway, what does your schedule in your mind look like this year? I mean, who's the teams you really feel important for you to have a chance to get in the playoffs this year? Other than the opener, of course.
Well, you always have the opener. I mean, our start of our schedule's tough. I mean, we've got Pap South, always tough. Then we have Prep and Westside.
Oh yeah, Westside's supposed to be good this year.
I think they're the best team.
I do too. I'm with you. I'm a Westside Warrior.
I
die Westside High. So I mean, I'm glad to hear they got
too many stories from your brother Bob. I don't. Anyway, I will tell you that they return a lot of kids. Good Lord, they're good.
Yeah.
And what a staff.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan.
Yeah, they're good people.
A huge fan.
Good guys.
And then we have Norfolk, and that's no easy team.
No.
That guy coaches football.
He always has a right to play.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we have Elkhorn South. Good Lord. You know, I mean, here we go. And then we got Lincoln Southeast, Southwest, and you know, then we got Gretna. My goodness, they're going to be good.
They're supposed to be better this year.
You know, so this is going to be. We don't have anybody that's like. So we have to be able to go into every game, and we got to compete. And you know what? What a great opportunity for our kids. So I'm excited for that competition.
Yeah. You know, when I looked at you as a young person to come on my staff, I couldn't afford you. They were finally paying you. If I caught you the early years when they weren't paying, you probably could afford it.
I almost accepted it, but Dana then closed down 2 years later or whatever. I was like,
yeah, I know I was on that ship. Went down with that dang president. Anyway, no, I mean, I always thought you had a ton of potential, be a dang good coach. I really did. I always thought you were very intelligent and working really well with kids, and it's shown how you've done and took in Waverly and made it your own. You did a great job, and I think you're gonna do the same thing at Papillion here too.
I appreciate that.
And I'm so glad you spent time with us today, man.
Yeah,
especially during this busy time. And
it's been a lot of
you know,
fun.
you've known the family and everything, and gosh dang it, you're a good coach. We wish you well. I know my brother does too. He said tell you hello and wish you well.
Tell him I said hello also. Well, I can say hello to Bob. I'm sure he watches these things. So Bob, hello.
We need to get him on it here.
Yeah.
Have him tell some of those stories that you were telling us earlier.
Absolutely.
But well, Coach, I mean, I wish you luck against Papillion South and
all of it. We need good luck about it.
I want everybody. I wish everybody well this year. I wish
appreciate
Nebraska, whether they play in the Big Ten, wherever they play, they're going to play this year. Because I got told our staff in here today when I came in, I said I'm going to wear that hat if they play this year, probably this year.
Yes, right. I love it.
I mean, because I think it's good for because like he made some good points.
Did you hear that press conference today?
He made some good points.
I loved it.
We staying here with us is much safer for these kids because the medical we have, because the University of Nebraska Med Center and all the things we have, and that's the way all these college town teams are.
Yeah. How much time we got? We got time. Listen, I'm getting going here, so I want to tell you this. I'm going to say this one thing.
He's the head of it, so he gets it.
I got to tell you something. I don't know a coach. I don't know a coach right now in Class A, Class B that is not doing what is most important for the safety of their kids.
Oh, I know it.
And you know what? Those kids, if you could see their faces, just practicing today, first day.
Well, you were on the news today.
Well, I don't know why.
This morning I saw you.
I think it's because
I was taking a shower and I said, I know that guy.
I think it's because we went at midnight. We're crazy. But there's not a coach that doesn't protect their kids' safety. And there's not a kid on anybody's team that doesn't want to play football or play sports in general.
Right.
And there is nobody that wants the safety of kids better than the coaches for those teams. And that is 100% the truth.
That's what Coach Frost said today. And I respect what he said.
Yeah. You
got to look at this. If they're here, they're under the care of the University of Nebraska Medical, which we all know is one of the best places for these types of disease in the world.
Sure. Yeah. I say let's take care of our kids.
Yeah.
And trust us.
Yeah.
Trust us to make the right decisions for our kids. There's guidelines and everything that we need to follow, and we follow them. So. Anyway.
Well, I think that's a great one, Dan. You know the hush. You know, as a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
It's time to get the hand up.
We got to do this.
We got to give it, baby. Not a camera, man. We got to go. For Sideline Power, remember we have this is the big week. My God, we're giving away prizes, having a blast here. Please join in. Tim, thanks a bunch.
Yes.
Here we go. Food or money, baby. Not necessarily. Hush,
Come
hush,
on.
hush, 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 hush.